We didn't make love that night. I expected to stay on the couch, but Cookie didn't want to hear about it. She took me into her bed and we cuddled together in just our underwear. I was too busy to monkey around and she didn't offer. She must have sensed my mood. The truth was that I was proceeding cautiously. If I was the type who likes to get to know someone, I'm sure we would have done so. But I'm not. That sense of intimacy was compounded the next morning as I showered in her bathroom. In my career, I've had to travel a lot for work. I'm a senior logistics manager for an intermodal transportation company. Trucks, trains, cargo ships. If they're hauling industrial containers, that's my business. So I'm used to showering in unfamiliar places. Cookie's apartment looked nothing like a hotel, extended stay inn, boarding house, or anything else. She had an old enameled iron bathtub on claw feet to which a shower had long ago been attached. The bottom of the tub was steeply sloped, curved, and slippery. It was easy to break your neck in such a tub. The shower curtain went all the way around because the edge of the shower curtain was not against the wall, which meant that the flow of water created an air current that made the bottom edge curl inward and stick to my shins. I had to make sure the curtain didn't open with a gap that would cause the water to hit the floor. I had nowhere to put my razor. I didn't know which of the dozen bottles in the wire basket hanging on the side of the tub was shampoo, conditioner, body wash, or whatever. There wasn't even a regular bar of soap, just 9 kinds of scrub. I got the impression that she rarely used that tub as a shower. But what occupied her most was that it was her space, with her things arranged in a way she had determined for herself. She knew where absolutely everything was, and could find what she needed in the dark with one hand. Or by candlelight, as evidenced by the 7 or 8 burning stumps. Being in this space, clearly not meant for guests, was as intimate as sleeping with her body pressed against it, if not more so. I went to work and was able to ignore my situation for a while. In fact, I had time to do a lot of things that morning. I blocked Steph's number and asked the receptionist to keep her off the premises, but she didn't try to show up to my work. She was supposed to be at school anyway. I can only imagine what conversation, if any, she had with her supervisor. I wondered if there would be any repercussions from my call to Hal. Steph had left about 100 voicemails, all of which I deleted. Let her sit there and spin how she'd left me. Was that mature of me? Probably not. Was it appropriate? Yes. Hell, yes. True to my word, I took Cookie out to dinner that night. We decided that she would teach me how to properly make sushi some other night, since I had just tried it with Jessica on Sunday. We ended up going to Ruth's Chris Steakhouse, as I wanted to show her my appreciation for letting me stay at her place. And everything else. This woman basically saved my life. The waitress approached the table, clearly intending to say, "How are you doing?" or some meaningless courtesy, but stopped, then quickly shortened the distance and looked directly into Cookie's eyes. "I love you," she said. Cookie's face flashed with joy. "I love you too, Liz. I didn't know you worked here. It's only been 2 months. I like everything about it. What are you doing here? And who's your friend?" "Dave's been staying with me for a few days, so he's been treating me. I love him too." "Oh, I see." She turned to me. "Okay. Well, welcome to the club. We should have a secret handshake or something. I'm Liz. I guess you could say I was in your shoes 2.5 years ago, or something like that anyway. I don't know where I'd be if it wasn't for her. You're in good hands, and she's a friend for life." "Well, it's nice to meet you, Liz. I'm looking forward to swapping stories about our sorrows." "Telling our stories really helps," she said, "up to a point. But after I had enough of them, I realized I was wallowing in the abyss. Eventually, I had to find a balance between making peace with the past and focusing on creating the life I want to live next. I could never have done it without her help." She smiled warmly. "Dave is still in the early stages of the process," Cookie said. "It just hit him on Thursday." "Oh my God. Dave, I'm so sorry. Listen, she's the best. But if she's gone, or if you need support, I can be on your team too. You need friends, people in your corner, you know? I've been there. I know what it's like. So accept me into your ranks." I nodded, stunned. "So, what can I pour you guys?" I ordered a Hefeweizen, and Cookie wanted a Pinot Grigio. Liz rushed to get them, as well as bread and water for the table. Cookie smiled at me. "I know what you want to ask," she said. "Yes. Liz and I are longtime friends. She's been through a rough time, and I've been doing the same things for her that I've been doing for you. More or less." I consider that sort of thing my purpose in life, but I'm not going to go into detail. Liz's story is hers to tell, not mine. So when it comes to that, ask her yourself and offer yours. She has nothing to hide and nothing to be ashamed of. Neither do I. Here's the thing. I don't spread rumors or participate in gossip. I don't keep secrets, I don't lie, and I don't discuss other people's business. It's a matter of privacy and respect, okay? You will have the opportunity later to give her the opportunity to initiate you into her secrets. That's perfectly fair. Good. So I'm just asking you not to talk about it outside of school, okay? Sure, no problem. For the third time, okay? You have my word. Good. Deal. I felt the word land and our deal was sealed. It felt like the quiet strike of a gong had sounded. Tell me this. Not specifically about Liz. Like we said, that's her business. But in general, you told me you've decided you don't like girls. I help people in every way. Every situation is unique. Helping is helping. An intimate life is an intimate life. It may be considered creepy, but it doesn't scare me. Why doesn't it scare you? Because, smartass, I love you. I love you too. What? What? Stephanie stood at the end of our table, listening to us say, I love you to each other, and watching us hold hands. All the trite excuses cheaters use flashed through my head and almost burst from my lips. It's not what it looks like. I can explain. It's not like that. The only thing that kept me from saying those words was that they collided on the way out and left me tongue-tied, letting Cookie take the lead. You must be Stephanie. And who the hell are you? A friend. She squeezed my hand a little tighter. Was she still holding it? A good friend. Dave seems to be having marital problems and needs emotional support. His wife cheated on him and now expects him to accept the situation, forgive her, and let her continue. She turned to me. Did I get that right? Pretty much. None of this is any of your business. Now, take your hands off my husband. What husband? I thought you had two equal spouses. Isn't that what you wrote in your Dear John letter? David. Who is this man? Stephanie, I said in a measured voice. You just spent 4 days somewhere having fun with your secret second husband and left me alone to tumble through a storm of emotions and consequences. And now you're mad because I'm having dinner with a friend? You have a hell of a lot of nerve. Why are you here? How did you even know where to find me? Your phone, Cookie said. It used the location feature. You guys have the same data plan, right? At least for her regular phone, you know. She probably has another one, a hot one, for her boyfriend. Don't talk about me like I'm not here. I'm sorry, Cookie said. I apologize. Look, Stephanie, I don't want to pull your chain. I'm really not a violent person. I'm just pointing out the irony of your situation. You had an extramarital lover. You have not given up on him. You intend to continue your relationship with him regardless of how your husband feels about it. But now you're upset about Dave holding another woman's hand in a restaurant. I'm sorry, but you don't need to be angry. You opened up your marriage, remember? Well, I didn't expect. He shouldn't have. He would never. She shook her head and blinked a few times, looking at me. Well, Dave, it didn't take you long to try to get even, did it? I'll admit, I wasn't ready for that. I'm not trying to get even, Stephanie, I said. I'm trying to clear the air. You and I broke up. We broke up the moment you started treating me like this. You haven't been married to me, by your own account, since you started doing it. All I'm doing now is reconciling myself to the reality of the situation. Well, she said, rising, I'm sorry you feel that way. If you were a bigger person, I think you could take a much more mature attitude to this. Maybe give a little thought to my ideas on how to proceed. The same thing that happened to me, you mean? I was considerate. I knew you would find it hurtful. I was trying to be kind. Keep telling yourself that. Maybe one day you'll even believe it. You two clearly have a lot to talk about, Cookie said. And it's long overdue. I should get going. I agree, Stephanie said. You have to go. But before you go, you have to tell me your name. My name is Cookie. Cookie? What kind of name is that? It's my real name. I dance under a different name every time. Oh my God. Are you really a stripper? You're kidding me. Oh, this is too perfect. Oh my God, Dave. I can't believe you actually went to a strip club. Oh, that's hilarious. It's disgusting. It's so sad, so pathetic. How could you do that? You know how we feel about things like that. Well, that would be a great way to challenge you then, wouldn't it? Please remember what you did this weekend and feel free to shut the hell up. How dare you talk to me like that? To answer your question, I was named after my great-grandfather, Cookie said, as if Steph and I weren't going to fight. He drove a cattle wagon across the Oregon Territory. Stephanie just looked at her dumbfounded. I swear it's a much better joke than everyone thinks, she continued. The truth is, when my mom was pregnant with me, she said she had a bun in the oven. My dad said I would be sweeter than any bun, and I was probably more like a cookie. So that's how it stuck. They went through a lot of other names. I could have been Jennifer, like all the other girls born that year, or Melissa, or, believe it or not, Stephanie. But as soon as they agreed on one, they forgot about it and kept calling me their cookie. Eventually, they gave in and put that name on my birth certificate to make it official, since that's what they were going to call me anyway. Honestly, it was great. No one forgets, spells it wrong, or confuses me with anyone else. Steph didn't say anything back and just stared at her. This is probably the 673rd time I've told this story, Cookie continued. Okay, enough about me. How are you? Oh, I'm just great. I caught my husband having an affair with a tramp, so my day is going great, thank you very much. We're not having an affair, and I don't think he even wants one. He doesn't seem like someone who likes casuals. She turned to me again and gave me an appraising look. It's not that I don't want to. So what the hell do you call holding hands in public and saying, I love you? That's exactly what it sounds like. Dave is a close friend of mine, and I do love him. He's hurting right now, and I'm giving him the support he deserves from everyone who claims to care about him. I don't suppose you'd like to comment on your part in all of this. David. She chose to ignore Cookie because she was losing. Let go of this woman's hand and come home with me right now. We were actually still holding hands. How about this? Stephanie, Cookie said in a carefully calibrated voice, make no mistake. I have no claim on your husband, and he has no claim on me. I belong to no one but myself, and I take no one as my own. It will always be so. I have no intention of stealing him from you. It was you who threw him away. Steph's jaw dropped as she tried to comprehend all of this. Where did you find this person, Dave? I picked her up at a strip club. You? Relax. She's one of Jessica's psychology professors. Psychology and sociology, actually. 2 doctorates. I also teach pole dancing at the fitness center as an elective. She winked and slipped out of the booth. As fun as this is, I really should leave you to it. I'm not going to be an impartial judge. Besides, I have papers to turn in. She leaned against my side and kissed me decisively on the lips. You still owe me dinner. Soon. I'll see you at home later? Count on it, I said, as Stephanie stuttered and lost her temper. Cookie turned and walked away with only a slight sway of her hips. I made a mental note to commend her for her restraint. Come on, David. We're going home, Steph announced. Stephanie, wife, or whatever the hell you are now. I'm going to be extremely polite. I can't even believe I'm doing this, but I invite you to sit down and have dinner here with me. I haven't made a reservation yet. We can even have that calm, rational conversation you were talking about. After that, you go your way and I'll go mine. But I'm done with you ordering me around or telling me how things should be. Done. Finito. Zuenda. The final curtain. If you don't like it, you can just turn around and walk away. It's up to you. Steph reluctantly lowered herself into the seat across from me that Cookie had just vacated. Liz chose that moment to show up with drinks and bread. So, I'll give you guys a few more minutes since you just got here, she said, and diplomatically disappeared. Stephanie barely noticed this exchange and ignored the wine. I really hate her, she pouted. I understand. What's there to hate? She's beautiful, brilliant, accomplished, and interesting. She finds me attractive and genuinely cares about me. You should care, even if I haven't had anything with her yet. If that's true, that's even worse. You're having an emotional affair. Don't you know that's just as bad? Damn, is that really what I'm doing? It hadn't occurred to me. Why do you say that? Come on. Why say I love you like that? She says it to everyone. She said it to the waitress. Bullshit. Ask her. Her name is Liz. I will. And what's this? I'll see you at home later stuff. I'm staying with her for a few days. I didn't want to be at the house when you got back. You're staying in her house? In her bed? That's none of your business. Seriously, Steph, you're such a hypocrite. You told me you were in love with another man, and you've been sleeping with him for years. I never said that. Like hell you didn't. I never said it was a man, and I said it's been going on for some time. Come on, you're not fooling anyone. You've been having fun with Lee Davenport behind my back for about 2 years, and you've been playing dumb with me the whole time. How could you? I never told. You never knew. Jesus, I'm not blind. I'm not insensitive. And I'm not stupid. I never thought you were stupid. And that's part of the problem. If you didn't think I was stupid, how could you think you'd keep me stupid for so long? But you didn't. It was all right. I didn't let myself know. I didn't want to admit it. And instead, I spent those years berating myself for being a bad husband because I suspected you, and you watched me do it. Damn it. You encouraged it. You were perfectly happy to see me twisting in the wind like that. God, there's no end in sight. You said your affair made our marriage better because you were happy. No, Stephanie. No, it didn't. I was quietly miserable and punishing myself for a long time. You took advantage of me, took me for granted, and abused my trust. Such a marriage cannot be called good by any standard. I know you're upset, okay? I admit I'm wrong. And yet you insist it's my problem. And it doesn't matter that I'm actually upset and you're still doing wrong and you're not going to stop. Why should I be the one to deal with it? Okay. So yes, the situation could have been handled better. The important thing is that we, as adults, don't lose our temper and do rash things. That trick with the locks and the vault was unnecessary. Oh my God. Do you even hear yourself? I'm not the one who's immature. You're the one who's selfish, and you don't even see it. You're too used to looking past teenagers. Well, you can't treat me like one of those brats at your school. You're inconsiderate, and manipulative, and cruel. Yes, cruel. You don't need to say that. What part of that isn't true? Why do you insist on making me the problem? You're the one behaving unacceptably, not me. You wrote in that damn letter about what a wonderful husband I am. But you've been a lousy damn wife. Okay. Well, I guess I'll have to live with that. She started sulking again. I didn't expect the conversation to go this way. I'm sure you didn't. I didn't hope our marriage would be like this either. Me neither. She seemed more depressed and less angry. Hey guys, Liz said, silently making her way back to the table. I didn't mean to intrude. I realize this is an important conversation, and I won't interrupt you. I don't suppose you've decided what you're going to eat yet? I'm not hungry, Stephanie replied. I am, though. I came here for steak. I'll have the filet petite rare side medium rare with a baked potato, seasoned the way you do. Stephanie's entree will be an appetizer of ravioli with veal osso buco, and 2 salads with blue cheese on the side, I said, losing my appetite. I've been married to you for 20 years, and I know better. The food will come, you'll smell it, and you can't watch me eat without stealing half of it. Besides, you love the veal ravioli here. By the time they come, you'll be thanking me. If you won't eat it anyway, you can take it with you. She shrugged, acknowledging the rightness of it. Good. Very good, Liz said, and stepped aside as if the table was on fire. One thing I've realized, I said, is that this process is exhausting. I'm not hungry, except when I'm hungry, and then I feel hungry. That's the way it is with everything. I don't get tired, but I fall asleep without any sense of purpose. I don't feel like doing anything, but when I do, I am extremely focused. I'm in deep shit, and frankly, it's kind of a good thing. At least now I know I'm not crazy. At least now I know what's real and what's not. It hasn't been easy for me either, she said. Do you think I feel good about all this? No. No, I don't. I didn't like lying to you or keeping secrets from you. I wanted to share with you what was going on, some of the most important feelings I'd ever experienced in my life, but I couldn't. There was no one I could tell. Not you, not my kids, not my friends, not my family. I was alone. Damn it, she really did look miserable. Don't expect sympathy, Steph. The reason you couldn't tell anyone is because it was wrong. You behaved shamefully, and you know it, even if you refuse to feel the slightest bit of shame about it. God, your parents really did abuse you a lot. You're convinced that shame is a terrible emotion, that it's useless, regressive, and holds you back. None of this is true. Shame can be a good thing. It keeps us from doing shitty things. It makes you feel bad when you do bad things. You know what they call people who have no shame? Sociopaths. Those are the people who don't feel shame. You mean empathy? Sociopaths don't feel empathy, not shame. You misunderstood that part. Ah, well, I don't feel much from you either. I have plenty of sympathy. I know this must be hard for you. I told you that. You turned purple when you saw me sitting here with Cookie. If you thought for 1 minute about how I'd feel if I did this to you, you'd never do it. Seriously, imagine if I fell in love with someone else and kept it a secret. If I told you you were crazy when you got suspicious and mocked you for being jealous even though I knew you were right, how would you feel? That shock, that anger, that disgust, that revulsion. That you hadn't experienced anything like that until 2 minutes ago? You didn't even want to imagine it. It was just a meaningless abstraction. She couldn't look at me. I continued. Duh! What would you think if Michael married a girl who behaved like that? If your sister-in-law decided to cheat on him and fall in love with another man, trying to keep him in the dark about it? You would kill the girl with a pickle fork. Don't even think about what you'd do to Jessica's husband if he had another secret wife, gassed her for years, and then finally demanded that she just suck it up, put up with it, and become a sister wife. God. They'll never find his remains. She was still silent. Let's talk about your boyfriend. I'm sorry. About your other equal spouse. Shit. If you really love him, shouldn't you want something better for him than a sordid affair with a married woman who might jeopardize their career? Doesn't he deserve his own love, his own wife? Not just some dirty secret, some agreement to spend time together? You've ruined everything for him. You've turned him into a dirty housewife. Tears appeared on her face, damn it. To hell with her husband, I thought. And the kids, too. She was only upset with her shitty boyfriend. The only person you give a shit about is yourself, Stephanie. The only thing you care about is your desires. You don't think one bit about who else you might be hurting. I guess that's the point. To hell with the rest of the world, this romance, this love, it's worth sacrificing everything. Is it? Because that's exactly what you did. You don't have to say it like that. Why shouldn't I? You're just being rude. Look in the mirror and say it again. Liz chose that moment to bring in the salads. Thanks, Liz, I said. Oh, and hi. I love you. She paused to smile. I love you too. Then turned on her heel and walked away. I guess we had a secret handshake after all. What the hell? Stephanie said. It's just words. I think Liz is a good person. I love her. I'm not going to sleep with her or have an affair. But I can show her my appreciation. You can't just say I love you like that. She doesn't seem to have a problem with that. I see it, but I don't understand it. Why? There are all kinds of love. I can love anyone. I can love everyone in the world if I feel like it. Except your boyfriend. Screw him. But everyone else, yeah, why not? Do you still love me? Of course I do. Do you? Of course. Then why are you talking to me like that? Because I'm no longer devoted to you. Because you're no longer committed to me. You broke that commitment. It wasn't a mistake. You did it on purpose. You did it for a long time. You're still doing it, and you're not going to stop. I deserve better than that in a relationship. You even said so in your letter. Probably do, don't you? And yes, for that matter, I did mean it. It's just that I never thought that you'd be so, I don't know what I thought. She exhaled and backed away slightly. I was hoping you'd be more open-minded. That I'm open-minded is not the issue. Then what is? God. Steph, if it was just sex, that would be one thing. If you talked to me, if it was a mutual decision between us, maybe we could agree. With mutual understanding and agreement, maybe we'd have some room for something. Or maybe we wouldn't. Probably not. But if I had any agreement or say, it would at least mean that I still matter to you. That this marriage is still important to you. I don't know. But we'll never know, will we? Because you didn't do that. You said, screw stupid old Dave, no matter how he feels, I'll do it. I was just in the way. The fact that you were married was an obstacle you chose to ignore. Of course you mattered. That's why I couldn't tell you. You pushed me aside, and then played me for 2 damn years like a fool. You led me on, you lied to me, manipulated me, and watched me squirm. I wasn't your husband, your partner, your first and most trusted ally in this madness called life. I was a sucker. You decided I didn't deserve to know the truth about what was going on in my own marriage. That's what ruined it. I was hoping that after all this time, after being together for so long, you would find it in your heart to forgive me. Yes, as the saying goes, it's easier to get forgiveness than permission, right? But that still doesn't make it okay. It's still wrong on your part. And it's still wrong to assume that everything will be okay in the end. Getting forgiveness doesn't solve the problem. I know that. But I did what I did, and I can't undo it. Now you can either find your own way to forgiveness, which would be great, or you can hold a grudge against me for the rest of your life, which will only hurt you. And thank you so much for burdening me with that. I sighed heavily. The worst part is that you're right. In the end, I will forgive you. But our marriage is over anyway. When I finally get through all of this, after enough time with however many other women it takes, and enough therapy, I will eventually forgive you for my own comfort. But it won't be soon. Not for you, and not to save the marriage. It will happen on my schedule, on my terms, not because you demand it. You have no right to it. When it happens, and I think it will be many years from now, I doubt I'll be talking to you. You won't even know. In any case, by then, it won't concern you anymore. It shouldn't be over between us. I thought we were doing well. We had a good marriage, didn't we? You were happy. You mean that what I didn't know didn't hurt me? Yes, that's exactly right. I hope someday you realize how awful that is. God, what if I had cancer and I didn't know? Doesn't cancer hurt me if I don't feel it? Of course it does. It can kill me, take my life, even if I don't feel sick. And if I do, I can just let it go for a while. That's what you did to our marriage. You gave him cancer. If I had told you, we would have had a fighting chance. By denying it, you just let the devastation get worse and worse until it was incurable. She didn't know what to say, so she remained silent. Liz took advantage of the lull in our conversation to bring food. It looked great and smelled even better. It looks wonderful, Liz. Thank you. You're welcome. Do you need anything else? Yes, I do, Stephanie said. That woman who was here before me. She said, I love you? Yes, and I said it too. So, your girlfriends? Or lovers? Or something like that? Liz just stood there and raised one eyebrow slightly, allowing Stephanie to dig herself even deeper into the awkward hole she'd created herself. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to pry. I mean, I want to know what's going on with my husband. Liz looked in my direction, and I half nodded. That was Cookie Dedridge, and she's no one's girlfriend, she began. If you're afraid she's going to steal your husband away from you, she's not. She says, I love you to her friends, and it's sincere. Love to her is not romantic. It's just connection. You know? So, it doesn't mean anything? No, of course it means something. It means, like, everything. But it doesn't necessarily mean you're in a relationship. So, a lot of people, when they say, I love you, think it means, I want to spend the rest of my life with you and only you. We'll get married, have kids, buy a house and all that. Saying it out loud is a big step, right? But it doesn't really have to mean that at all. Love is just a feeling. Feelings just happen. On one hand, you have love, and on the other hand, you have the decisions you make about how you live your life. You don't have to be a slave to random emotions. She looked at Steph with raised eyebrows, as if she had asked a question and wanted confirmation. Steph looked at her dumbfounded, as if she'd been climbing in and out of windows all her life, and someone had just shown her how to use a door. God, was it really like that? Was everything in Stephanie's world really that simple? Just an equation? Cause and effect? Strong feelings automatically meant you should have fun? Damn it. Damn it. Steph, you're an idiot. No wonder you fell into an affair so easily. No wonder you thought you could manipulate me into saying yes. Damn it. That explains a lot. So, a couple years ago, Liz continued, my boyfriend, my fiancé at the time, was actually cheating on me. We'd been together for almost 7 years. Getting married would have just been a formality. He was my other half. We had 2 kids and everything. Well, some other bitch hooked up with him. He left us and moved to Calgary. I was in a very dark place for a long time. Cookie kind of adopted me, helped me get my life together, gave me some perspective. I found out later that she was just like that. So, yes, she's been my friend and more when I needed one, and she's helped me more than I can even say. I love her. She loves me. That's just the way it is. Steph didn't seem to have anything to say to that. I thanked Liz, and she left. Steph picked listlessly at her plate. I don't want a divorce, she said. I still love you more than anything, but I didn't mean for it to be like this. I thought you loved me. Enough to try, at any rate. Don't you love me enough to at least try? Stephanie, I do love you. Don't ever doubt that. But that doesn't mean you can take me for granted and treat me like shit. You can't use that love to extort money from me. I've never treated you like shit. I've always loved you. There's no extortion. I just want things to go back to the way they were. We had a good life together. I don't want to change anything. So I should just pretend that you're not having fun with your other husband, that you don't love the other man, that he's not more important to you than I am. No. God, don't you understand? It's been tearing me apart all this time. I wanted to tell you from the beginning, but I knew you wouldn't accept it. I never wanted to make a fool of you. I thought I was doing the right thing by not telling you, but it hasn't changed the way I feel about you. I still love you as much as I ever did. And he's no more important to me than you are. I guess he is. Getting involved with him was worth risking your marriage, but it wasn't worth missing him to protect what we have. That's why he was more important. He still does. You didn't even offer to try to give him up. She stared at her ravioli. A few moments passed before she spoke. It wouldn't have meant anything if I had, Dave. I would have lied. I couldn't have done it. Even if I tried to do it for real, you wouldn't believe me or trust me. Finally, some truth at least. I didn't think I was risking our relationship. I didn't. I thought we'd be strong enough to withstand the change. After all, we had twins. You can't pretend that Michael and Jessica didn't change our marriage. Everything changed when we became a family with children. It wasn't always easy, but it was worth it, wasn't it? In the end, despite the sleepless nights, the heartaches, the fears, the obstacles in our lives, all the extra work and all the expenses, starting a family made our marriage better. It was the best thing we ever did. You can't deny that. I thought it was going to be exactly like this. Michael is my son. Jessica is my daughter. A thought flashed through my mind. Shit. Really? Tell the truth. I'll check them out. Of course you will. I would never do that to you. What you would or wouldn't do to me isn't something I really believe in. I shook my head as if trying to shake the dust out of my hair. If you're telling the truth this time, if we're family, then they're part of me, part of us. And that's what we did together. It was a decision we made together. I took on fatherhood just like you took on motherhood. Lee Davenport, on the other hand, is an intruder. He's an intruder. This is all on your conscience. You did this in spite of me. You excluded me. I don't even like the little shit. And there's no reason to. He made me a third wheel in my own marriage. I don't want, won't, and shouldn't accept him as a family member. Not in any relationship. You better not let me ever see him in person again. The whole time I was saying this, there was another voice in my head saying, screw you, screw you, screw you. Those words never actually came off my lips, but Steph seemed to hear them anyway. My steak was perfect. I decided to focus on it for a few minutes. We're still married, Stephanie said as she ate 3 of her ravioli. There's more to it than that. You can't just declare it's over. I'm going to fight it. I'm going to demand that we go to counseling. I'm going to procrastinate. Things would be so much easier and cheaper if you just accepted that I'm still in your life and not going anywhere. You know what? That's a great idea. Let's go to counseling. I'll even organize it. But it won't be the way you want it to be. If you think you're going to get the counselor on your side to get me to be reasonable and come to terms with your polygamy, you're going to have a very different case. No. The purpose of these sessions will be to unload your head and get you to admit what you've done to destroy the marriage. That's the thing. I'm not trying to break up the marriage. But you are. Then let the games begin. Speaking of games, she said, it was awful of you to call Hal. What did you say to him anyway? It had nothing to do with my job. I didn't say anything to Hal. I called to ask him about the teacher's conference you told Jessica about. You know, the one that didn't happen and that you didn't go to? He didn't know anything about it. Then I asked him if he knew where you were. He thought you were at home with me. Well, he called me in today and spent 15 minutes asking if everything was okay at home and if there was anything I needed to tell him. He even directed me to the county employee handbook. You didn't say anything about Lee, did you? I may have asked if he knew where he was. Damn it. You didn't need to do that. You didn't have to sleep with that guy. It's not right that you're trying to involve other people. Huh. Oh, that's good. Keep other people out of it. Try to follow that rule yourself. Stop trying to put it on me. It's your own fault, Stephanie. If you're not prepared for the consequences, you shouldn't have gone down this path. Besides, Hal isn't stupid. He would have figured it all out sooner or later if he didn't already suspect it. I'm sure he already knew about the rumors. What rumors? Your students were whispering about the two of you. It started when Jessica and Michael were juniors in high school? Didn't you know about it? Stephanie turned pale. No, it can't be true. Ask them. God, I don't even want to. She hung her head. Why did you even tell the kids? Why did you let them read the letter I left you? I never thought you'd do that. It was supposed to be private, just between you and me. How's our marriage? God, don't say that again, okay? Answer the question. Good. I let them read the letter because they deserve to know the truth. I didn't want you to turn me into the bad guy. You were going to tell them some story about how we were estranged, and then claim that Lee was just a friend who was so understanding and supportive until you finally fell in love and married him instead of telling the truth about your clandestine affair. To hell with that. I would never do that to you. How funny that you didn't. That's exactly what you were going to do. No, I want to stay married and still pursue a relationship with him. I know it can work. For 2 years it worked. 2 years of lying and abusing my trust. 2 years of messing with my head, my heart. No way. Not with this guy. No way. Not now. And never without talking to me first. You want an open marriage? That would require a conversation. You want counseling? That should have happened before you started your affair. Asking for forgiveness and apologizing after it's over is not worth it. Shit. You're probably right, but it is what it is. And we have to make it work. We have to. Shit. I just realized something. What? You still haven't apologized? Yes, many times. I wrote about it in my letter. No, you said you were sorry that it happened, and that you were sorry that my feelings were hurt. But you're not sorry for what you're doing. I thought you said you didn't regret anything. That you'd regret it even more if you hadn't entertained him. No, Stephanie. You don't regret having an affair. You only regret the consequences. She slumped back in her seat. And you haven't said a single word about being sorry since you showed up at this table. No, I have apologized. I admitted I was wrong. That's not the same as regretting it. That doesn't count as an apology. If it were all over again, Dave, I'd do things very differently. But you would have done it anyway. I would have. She straightened up resolutely. But I would have made sure you knew that I wasn't leaving you. That this has nothing to do with you or our marriage. And you're right. You deserve to know that. You deserve to have this conversation. I haven't treated my husband with the respect he deserves. I'm truly sorry for that. And I'm really sorry that I hurt you. In that, you have to believe me. You still don't regret doing it, or that you're going to keep doing it. She fell silent. Her eyes said, I do. But she couldn't bring herself to say it. Because love is never wrong, I said. It would be a crime to deny how you feel about him. Again, the same thing, I continued. And it would be wrong not to act on that feeling. That would be a violation of true love. Yes. Well, that was it. I pondered this for about a quarter of a second. Get out of here, Stephanie. Get up from the table and just walk away. Leave me alone. Now. Dave, Go away! She jerked and scrambled her hands around the table. Her body slid out of the stall, and she hesitated for a moment. I'm sorry, she said one last time, then turned and walked away with tears streaming down her face. I realized I was clutching a steak knife in my right hand, and my knuckles turned white. It was unintentional, I swear. I dropped it and stared into space. Shortly afterward, Liz walked in. I guess I don't need to ask how it went, she said with sympathy in her eyes. About as well as could be expected, to be honest. Drink it slowly, she said, placing a small glass of translucent caramel-colored liquid in front of me. She didn't have a tray. She just carried it in her hand. Sip it. Don't even sip it. Just let it spread on your tongue. I brought it up to my nose and sniffed it. Bourbon. I raised an eyebrow at her. Angel's envy, neat, she said with a polite smirk. It's on me. Enjoy it properly. If you stab yourself, I'll have to spank you. I did as she said. I knew she wasn't going to hit me. It was delicious. I let the smoky, sweet ambrosia evaporate in my mouth, and a sense of well-being spilled over my body. You're very good at what you do, Liz. I bartend most evenings. You develop a feel for this kind of thing. I'm really, really, very glad to have you on my team. Especially tonight. I would be honored to be on yours as well. I love you. She smiled. I love you too. I tipped her twice as much as I should have. Next chapter. How did it go? Cookie asked when I got back to her house. It went fine. I raised my hands in submission. I agreed to go to counseling, not to make up, just to clear things up. I shook my head. I'm sorry our date was cut short. I still owe you a nice dinner. Have you eaten? Yes, of course. The usual. Hummus, olives, carrots, and cottage cheese. Shredded radish, wassa crackers, and pita bread. For me, it's better than a heavy meal. I'd still have to pay for it at the gym later. She shrugged. But counseling is a good idea. I think you might end up learning something. About Stephanie, and maybe about yourself too. A lot can come out of these sessions. I hope so. One thing has already come to light. I collapsed on the couch. What's that? Sorry. She's not sorry. She's not sorry for what she did. She's sorry that I feel bad about it. She's sorry that there are all these consequences. She's sorry that she messed up. But she's not sorry for what she did to mess it up. Nor is she sorry for continuing to do it. She's behaves defiantly. Cookie nodded as I spoke. I understand. From everything you've told me, I think you're absolutely right. From her point of view, everything would be fine if you never knew about her affair and would never find out. Of course, she's wrong. You would be living a lie and she would be taking advantage of you. But that's her position at this point. She can't have regrets unless she believes she's done something wrong. Love is never wrong. That's what she said. I wrinkled my nose, pulling it all together. And since she's in love, then she's not wrong. At least not in her mind. Damn it. That's not so bad. Love is never wrong. But not wrong doesn't mean right. That's bad logic. It doesn't mean that love is acceptable in all circumstances. It can be meaningless. It can be inappropriate. It can be stupid. It can be unhealthy. It can be dangerous. It could be any number of things other than wrong that would still make love a bad idea. Damn right. And that's even if she does love this other person. Or maybe she doesn't. Maybe she's just telling herself that to justify her actions. Calling it love justifies it in her mind. God, maybe. People do all sorts of crazy things in the name of love. It's romantic to behave defiantly against everything that's good and right. To be defiant is to be bold. You have seen that kind of thinking everywhere, but it creates all kinds of disasters in people's lives. Like in ours. Like yours. Like hers. You've decided there's no more hours between you, haven't you? Right? I fell silent. The thought that Steph might never regret her time with Shitweasel was new and depressing. She was still proud of herself. She basked in the glow of fame and adventure. She had the courage to take what she wanted against all odds. If she hadn't, she would have been disappointed in herself. Did that mean she'd do it again with some other asshole in the future? Shit. Was the only way to have a happy and faithful marriage was to marry someone no one would ever want? That didn't sound right. No, marriage only works when you make choices, and that means you have a lot to choose from. Being trapped with no choices is not marriage. Marriage means choosing the same person, the same life, over and over again, every day. Either person could walk away at any time, but they don't. That is what is admirable. You stay committed to each other in both good times and bad. Especially the bad ones. Was this one of those bad times? Was I the one who had failed? So serious, Cookie said. Tell me what you're thinking. Stephanie will never be sorry. It's not in her nature to repent. She only thinks she should have done things differently to better handle my reaction. She thinks her mistake was that she didn't manipulate me effectively enough. The problem is me, not her. I'm the one who is stubborn and prideful. She didn't take that into account. She thought she would break my will. Cookie nodded sympathetically. She doesn't let herself see how cruel she is. Most women don't even realize how important pride is to a man. How much our society demands of men. You're supposed to be strong, self-sufficient, and unwavering. You are supposed to be the breadwinner. You are supposed to be supportive, understanding, and emotionally available. And in doing so, you are never, ever, ever, ever allowed to show vulnerability or ask for help. Men need nurturing just like everyone else, but you should never ask for it. Generally speaking, yes, it's something we get as children. Growing up drills it into us. Next chapter. At some point in that delirious evening, she must have put me to bed, because that's how I woke up. With Cookie. Even though we weren't a couple, it was starting to feel an awful lot like a couple. I woke up at my usual time and realized I had to go to work. Cookie stirred and cooed. No need to get up. There's no class until 10. I have to. Too bad. Yeah. Are you feeling better? She asked. I know last night was rough. It started out good, then it got rough, and then it was incredibly beautiful. Good. You deserved it. I feel selfish. Don't be. It was wonderful. It was what you needed and what I needed too. I didn't even, repaid the favor. Ah, don't worry about that. I couldn't have handled it even if you tried. I'd have to push you away. Seriously, you were great. I loved every moment of it and I love you. You should be proud of yourself. You're a good man and a wonderful lover. And very attractive. Take it from a straight woman who looks like me, and don't let your wife's terrible judgment break you. Oh. Speaking of which, can you meet me at 4 o'clock this afternoon? Oh, yeah, I guess so. I mean, I left early yesterday, but I might be able to make it today if I rearrange a couple things. What do you have in mind? We're going to the gym together. You're not in bad shape. Your body is fine. But exercise releases the kind of fun chemicals your brain needs. They lift and stabilize your mood. It gives you a sense of accomplishment. There is no better antidepressant. More importantly, you need to follow a self-care program. This is much more important than just getting outside approval. Trust me. Here's how it works. Oh, okay. I guess I need to sneak home and find some workout clothes. Uh-huh. Her eyes narrowed slightly when she noticed the difference between home and dwelling. And shoes. Sneakers you can run in. They don't have to be fancy. And a small towel, too. A regular hand towel will do. Don't worry, I'll go easy on you. We'll just get you oriented and get your blood flowing right the first time. We'll be at the University Sports Center. I'll sign you in. Okay. Okay. Go take a shower. I'll make coffee. Next chapter. Work was work. I walked into HR to let them know I was going through a divorce and that I needed to make changes to my deposits, insurance, and retirement accounts. I also told them that I would need to take a few personal days to deal with attorneys, counselors, and the like. They were very helpful, professional, and strangely detached. We worked for a large company, and while my ordeal was crushing for me, for them, it was completely routine. I was extremely depressed by this part of the situation. What's the old saying? What's normal for a spider is chaos for a fly. I felt like a fly. I also researched several marriage counselors and made an appointment with one. I decided to text Steph about it. I unlocked my phone and discovered about 100 emails, texts, and messages from her. I deleted them all. I knew the predicament I was in. For the second day in a row, I managed to leave early and made my way to the house, hoping to make it before Steph returned. That's when I saw the storage capsule. It had been delivered right to where I had loaded it up with Jesse and Cookie. Steph apparently decided to undo my act and write it off as a pointless prank. Sighs. Okay. Okay. My new keys didn't work. The locks had been changed again. The second new set looked expensive. She broke in the door? Yes. She broke the window at the back door and had it fixed, probably by whoever she hired to change the locks. Luckily, she hadn't figured out the garage door opener or fiddled with the kitchen door lock, so I could still get into the house that way. I figured I needed to leave myself a way to get into the house when she was busy replacing it, So I made sure Michael's window locks were still disabled, since he'd been sneaking in at night and thought we didn't know. Steph put most things back in place, trying to erase the damage I'd done. But she wasn't done. She was working alone and frustrated, so she couldn't match the labor of 3 people in a day. As I was packing up my stuff and a few other random things, I noticed something I should have realized back on Saturday. Stephanie had a lot more stuff than I did. If I had been trying to pack my stuff to leave the house, I would have managed it alone in an hour or two. All the space I occupied was shared. My half of the closet, most of the dresser, one chair in the living room, and the corner of the dining room table where I sometimes put my work laptop were the only territory I allotted myself in my own home. Everything else was Stephanie's domain. I just camped there, making my presence insignificant and unobtrusive. Damn it. I ended up throwing most of my stuff in the car. Everything fit. I left the chair behind. On the way to the university gym, dressed in an old t-shirt, a pair of gym shorts, and the only tennis shoes I owned, I realized again how belated my reaction to something I couldn't process was when I saw it. No one was sleeping on our bed. Stephanie hadn't even stayed there. Next chapter. I'd like to say that my experience with working out was positive, that I was interested in having fun, that it energized me and made me want to strive for more. But it was exactly the opposite. I felt stupid, awkward, weak, sickly, and old. Cookie was kind and didn't resent me, but I could only pick up on some of the techniques she was showing me, and I was probably the reason she couldn't get the training she wanted. It's hard at first, I know. I promise it will get easier from here. How long do I have to work out before that happens? After the 3rd or 4th time, it'll get a lot better. You don't have to push yourself, just show up. Showing up the first time is the most important thing. You'll naturally do more when you're ready for it. If you say so. Yes. You may not believe me now, but you'll feel better in a few hours, and you'll be proud of yourself. I'm afraid I'll have to take your word for it. We were at Planet Smoothie, conveniently located in the lobby. Cookie offered treats. From the way things were going, I should have been happy. The key is to establish a routine, she said, determined to overcome my moodiness. Do it automatically whether you want to or not, especially if you don't. Later, you'll be glad you did it. That kind of structure really helps you deal with the feeling of being out of sorts. Right now, everything feels aimless, and you are just adrift. To impose your will and see it become effective in your life does wonders for you in the moment. And it necessarily has to do with practicing. No, actually, it can be related to anything. Exercise is just one very impressive way to do it. You get a very high return on a small amount of effort right away. She tilted her head to the side. But you're right. There are plenty of other things where it pays off. And in the coming days and weeks, you'll be considering doing those things. I understand. There's a lot to do. I don't just mean organizational matters. That and a lawyer and therapist appointments and bank accounts, of course. I think you've probably handled all of that. But I'm talking about the deeper work. About your lifestyle. About your personality. Your career. It's time to think about what you want. Well, I know what I do not want. I don't want to go back to the way things used to be. I don't want to go after the equal spouse she wants. An open marriage. Screw it. And I don't want to stay married to her even if she leaves her bastard boyfriend. She'll spend the rest of her life resenting me and looking at me like I just kicked a puppy. It's good that you realize that. But listen, it would be better if you were clear about what you want, not what you don't want. Construct it as an affirmation, not a negation. Here, for example, if I say, don't think about tigers. What will that make you think about? About tigers. Right. The main idea in a negative declaration is only reinforced. Positive declarations introduce new ideas that displace old ones. If I tell you to think about watermelons, what will make you think about it? Watermelons? And not about tigers. Oh, okay. I get it. So tell me, Dave, what do you want? What do you want your life to look like in the future? I stared at the ceiling. That's a damn good question. There's no time limit, and there are no rules. You can even change your mind if you want to. Several times if you need to. What do you think I should do? Ursa, I think you need to stop asking other people what's right for you and decide for yourself. Right. Sorry. Stupid question. No. I think it's just force of habit. You're so used to pleasing someone else that it's hard for you to do otherwise. Well, that's for sure. I furrowed my eyebrows. There's a better way to ask that question that I hope will give me a more productive answer, but I can't think of one. Yeah, well, sometimes questions are more important than answers, aren't they? Was that a question? A rhetorical one. Here you go. How about, what would it be like if you could have everything the way you want it? Where would you be if you could be anywhere? What kind of people would be in your life if you could choose anyone? What would you do if you could do anything? You may be surprised at some of the answers when you find them. I hope you will be. And even if you can't get exactly what you want, you'll find something close enough that you can get it, and that you might end up liking even more because it's real, because you can do it, because it's yours. God, I have a lot to think about, don't I? Of course you do, but there's no urgency. I mean, a lot will happen, and pretty quickly. But like I said, things will be in flux for a while. There will be false starts, lots of possibilities, and we don't know what's going to happen until someone makes decisions that will work. That someone should probably be you, right? Right. Divorce is a radical break in our lives. People move to new cities, change jobs, enter into new relationships, things like that. It marks a before and an after in your life. We tend to think of it as destruction, but it's also an opportunity for growth and change. How often do we get the chance to completely reinvent ourselves? To take on things we would normally give up? To shed the old skin and truly become someone else, more like the person you've always wanted to be. It's scary, of course. It can be intimidating, even overwhelming, but it can also be exciting. A new challenge. Everything you've ever considered but immediately discarded, saying, "Oh, I could never do that well," never is now. God, I don't even know where to start. It goes back to where we started. You become someone by doing something. Are you a guy who goes to the gym? You become that by doing that. Are you a fisherman? A writer? A dancer? A gamer? A stand-up comic? Deer hunter? Ladies' man? Juggler? Craftsman? Bookworm? None of those things. It all starts with small steps, just like you start any business. First, you allow yourself to think of it as something real. That's the hardest part. Then you play with it. You spend time on it. You practice it. You do more of it. And then you get good at it. Do it long enough, and you get good at it. If you get good at it long enough, it becomes part of your essence. Not just in your head, but in the world. Something clicked. Cookie, I can only assume you've never danced before. That incident with Justin. I leaned back slightly, wondering if I'd just ruined my entire relationship with this woman. But I hadn't. She just nodded. That was my own radical breakup. Before that, I was shy. A total introvert. That's how I spent most of my time in grad school, with my nose buried in books. I hardly talked to anyone or paid attention to anything but what I was doing. That's how I got through it. People with PhDs think they're smarter than everyone else. They aren't. At one point in our lives, we were so focused that we managed to bore the review board to death with details and footnotes, to the point where they wanted us to just shut up and leave. Honestly, that's why I got 2 of them. I couldn't get a teaching job. That would have required me to perform in front of people and speak out loud. No, I wanted a research position where I wouldn't have to talk to anyone, but there aren't many of those. I wasn't aggressive enough to get such a job. So I went back to graduate school. It was familiar and comfortable. Well, that's quite a shift from where you are now. The person you see is the opposite of who I was then. This woman, this life came into being through an act of pure will, a transformation. You are courageous. You are confident. You are fearless. Only a fool has no fear, she said, in a suddenly deeper and more serious voice. Courage is the art of conquering it. She shook her head and smiled. I'm sorry. I sound like a Klingon. The old me was a dedicated nerd. Echoes of her still manifest. Ghosts in my head. But you're right. I am like this on purpose. When I was in the hospital recovering from surgery, I knew that the survivor who got out of bed had to be completely different from the victim who lay in it. In a way, I did die. Shy, nervous, meek little Cookie was murdered. She was burned to ashes from which a new phoenix was to rise. I imagined myself brave and confident. God, those thoughts were foreign to who I used to be. Becoming a stripper was the bravest thing I could think of. I almost died of embarrassment the first time I stepped on stage as an amateur. I'd never even allowed myself to show up in a swimsuit in public. You're kidding. She raised her fist. By the hammer of Grabtar, I swear it. Galaxy Quest. Alan Rickman. Very good. I can't get anything out of you. It's a highly specialized quirk, that's all. Don't sell yourself short, David. You've got a terrific mind. You can do anything you want with it, including reinvent yourself? Especially that. Something she just said. You called me David, not Dave. Is that okay? Yeah, it's normal. When Stephanie said that, it meant I was in trouble. She used it to say she was angry or displeased with me. You didn't. It sounds like you meant to say you sound more sincere. Yes, absolutely. Would you like me to always call you David from now on? No, that's all right. I can refer to you any way I like. It's very common for people to change their names during the rebirth process, especially women. If not legally, they tell their friends they want to be called something else. Is that what you wanted to do? No, not really. Did you want to? I mean, to be called something different. I thought about it. Really, I did. But I decided that being Cookie was the part of my old self that I wanted to keep. She smiled slightly and laughed inwardly. That's good enough for me. From the song. That song always plays in my head, like a little affirmation. It gives me strength. That's good. A lot of things are good, Dave. Even when it feels like the world is on fire, at least you can roast marshmallows. We finished our cocktails, and I picked up the car and followed Cookie to her house. Parking on the street was a nightmare, and I was worried about leaving all my stuff in the car. I grabbed a duffel bag filled with clean clothes and walked the 4 blocks to Cookie's house. Sorry, I couldn't park. Sorry. Yeah, parking is tight this time of day. I put almost all the stuff from the house in the car. Hopefully everything will be okay. Can I drop them off here? As soon as I said it, I realized how ridiculous it was. Her apartment was a tiny cubbyhole of conveniently dense clutter. I'm not really cut out for this. How much stuff do you have and how long do you need it to stay here? I'm sorry. No, I can see that. That's not good. I'm sure everything will be fine for today. I'll figure something out in the morning. She nodded. I mean, I know you don't want to be in the house when Stephanie's there, but we should probably start moving toward a more permanent solution for you. Stephanie's not in the house. No? There was no one sleeping on the bed. I think she must be staying with her boyfriend. She shows up at the restaurant intending to drag you home with her and she's not even there? Yeah, that doesn't make any sense, does it? Maybe she'd be in the house with me if it worked, I don't know. Okay. Well, I said you could stay here for a few days, and you're definitely welcome at my house. But I'm not ready for you to be my neighbor for the long haul. If you have such a big empty house, I don't see why the two of us need to loiter in this little nest. Except for fun, of course. Oh dear. I'm imposing. Shit. I'm sorry. I've been selfish and thoughtless. Stop it. I'm not giving you a hard time. Think of it as an opportunity to do what we talked about before. Where do you want to live? I don't know. Not at your house. Not really. Do you want to have your own place? Yes. With room for the kids. For when they visit. Or in general, to have some sort of home base for them. They're in school, but I want them to have some security. Somewhere they could store their stuff and feel stable. Okay, so you'll stay in town then? I really haven't thought about another place. We're thinking about it now. Why are you here? What's keeping you here? What, if anything at all, would induce you to move elsewhere? We were forced to stay in the county because of Stephanie's work. Well, I'm not forced anymore, I guess. I work for a large company with many offices around the world. I might even be able to get promoted if I move to one of the port cities. I've been telling myself for the last 2 decades that I couldn't do it. Would you want to? I don't know. I think it would be a fresh start. It would distance me from Steph. But I'm getting too old for that kind of thing. She looked at me. Tell me again who's old. Shit, I'm sorry, I forgot. That's okay. I have friends many years younger than me who feel and act like they're many years older than me. Sure, there are limitations that come with age, but it can also be a matter of perspective and attitude. A lot of people younger than you end up driving themselves to an early grave. I guess that's true. What you're experiencing is what I call an automatic no. As soon as we consider new possibilities, we immediately try to shut them down. It's a defense mechanism. Our life is comfortable because we are used to it. We may not like our situations. We may not even like them, but we feel safe if things stay the same. New opportunities threaten that security. And then, the automatic no kicks in. Huh? I'm going to encourage you to resist that instinct. Not because I want you to change or leave or anything like that, but because I want you to be able to. Your world has gone out from under your feet while you've buried yourself in denial. You need to be able to adapt to changing circumstances and pick yourself up. So, to hell with the automatic no. To hell with the automatic no. She nodded encouragingly. It doesn't serve you. Where do you want to live? I don't know. I shuddered. But probably not here. I need to get my options together and think about them. I know that doesn't sound like a powerful answer, but it's what I do. I do logistics and planning. I gather information, evaluate alternatives, and act decisively. Good. Good. And you're right. I've imposed on you long enough. I'll book a room for an extended stay tomorrow. I can get the corporate rate. It's your space, and I respect that. You've been more than generous. You've been more than worth it. And you still owe me a nice dinner, and I still owe you a taste of sushi. Besides, you'll be spending more nights here, just not all in a row with all your possessions piled in a corner like some vagrant. She stared up at the ceiling and tapped herself on the chin thoughtfully. Besides, I think it's good that you'll have some space. We run the risk of getting too close. If we keep this up, you'll fall in love with me, and hard, and that's not what you want. I'm your divorce assistant, not your manic dream girl. I'm your friend, and I want what's best for you. And that means it's up to you to get your own head in order. You're right, as always. The voice of experience? It's an old song, Dave. A very old, very sad song. She grilled a beautiful fish fillet on rice with vegetables and 2 glasses of Chablis. Simple. Perfect. I love that you can be silly. Oh, you have no idea. She arched her back and stretched. I guess Stephanie wasn't stupid. God, no. She's serious as a heart attack. And when we got into it, it's like she became a completely different person. Her voice changed, her posture, her attitude, everything. It was impossible to have a normal conversation with her. Yes, it's quite common. She became performative. Not everyone is like that. You're not like that. You're not like that either. You're a wonderful person, Dave. Don't forget that. And it's not just me, you know. A lot of people think that way. Women in particular. You're attractive, you're mature, you have a good life attitude, and you're a very generous, intuitive, considerate, and skillful lover. You'll make it work. But not with you. Oh, you'll do very well with me. Make no mistake about that. You're better off than anyone else. There's just nowhere else to go from here. You like being married, don't you? I don't mean Stephanie specifically. I mean you like being a married man. You like the stability, the status, the identity. Being married makes you feel complete. Well, yes, that's true, I guess. But my real marriage wasn't a good one. It was never what I had envisioned it to be. But I have to admit that I was very comfortable with what I envisioned. Maybe a little too comfortable. Complacency. For the past few years, it's all been a lie. Stability was an illusion. The status was false. I wasn't a married man. I was a cuckold. Now I have to wear it like armor. Do you think you'll want to get married again? I don't mean anytime soon. I just mean in general. And I don't mean me, I mean someone. I think I will, yes. When I'm ready. But hell, it's going to take a long time. I have to get over all my resentments and trust issues. And I haven't even gotten to feel this bear yet. People who get divorced tend to either remarry right away or it takes 7 to 10 years. I bet you'll do the latter. By the way, you don't have to overcome all your problems. Just most of them. It's okay if it still hurts from time to time. You've dealt with yours. It's generous of you to think so. But no. No. Because you swore you'd never get into a relationship again? Not only that. I mean, I don't know that anyone could survive what I went through. The damage is done. It's like losing a leg. You can heal, but the leg is still gone. The only thing you can do is adjust to the injury and learn to use a prosthetic. You may live a long, healthy, and happy life, but you will always be an amputee. You will never be made whole. And sometimes you still feel it. Sometimes it still hurts. I didn't know what to say to that. It's not that I don't trust men, Dave. It's not that I don't trust men. And it's certainly not that I don't trust you. I don't believe for a second that you'd ever do what Justin did to me. The problem is, I never believed he would either. 47,000 women die from domestic violence every year worldwide. 1 in 11 women dies at the hands of a man every 11 minutes. I was ready to be one of them. The only way I escaped was to become a murderer. I killed the man I loved. I wanted to do it with rage in my heart. So yes, I made a promise to myself. Never again. Never. Ever again. I can't be in the same situation again, no matter how I feel. I'm not going to do that. I keep my promises. There was steel in her voice. You keep your promises, I repeated. Every single time. If it's something I can't do, I won't promise from the start. There's great strength in that. I highly recommend it. You made me a promise. Yes, I promised to help you. To be there for you. To see you through to the end of your trouble and beyond. You meant it? Yes. You understand. I'm beginning to understand. Something occurred to me. I know I'm not the first. I've met Liz. You do projects for broken hearts like me, and you've been doing this for, what, like 20 years? 24. How long? She was quiet for a few moments. Your 30th. I think. Wow. Don't you dare feel like a face in the crowd. It's different every time. It doesn't always work. And I don't get intimate with everyone, not at all. There's no one like you. There hasn't been in a long time. And I have very specific plans for you, assuming you're up to the task, of course. What kind of plans? That I'll tell you. I'll let you know when you're ready. In the meantime, you still have a lot to learn. Like what, for instance? Well, I was just about to tell you. When people get married right away, they want to get back into their comfort zone. They want things to go back to the way they were before. That's not a good way to move on with your life. Second marriages break up much more often than first marriages, and even those break up 50-50. So no, don't get married right away. Don't even get attached. Sort yourself out first. And despite how close you and I have gotten, you really shouldn't be ceremonious with me. I know you have feelings. Feelings are normal. You can love me. I love you too. But I'm not going to be your girlfriend. I'm not going to be your next wife. That's just not going to happen. You need to know that I'm something else. This is a different kind of relationship. Friends with benefits? Not exactly. That label doesn't fit. She nuzzled affectionately against me again. You've been married and monogamous for 2 decades. You haven't had many different relationships. What's more, you haven't had many different kinds of relationships. I'm sure you realize that it's different every time, different with every person. But even knowing that, people tend to focus on the usual goal of, let's see if I like him, let's see how compatible we are. And if all is well, you continue and eventually declare the relationship permanent. Boom, the American dream. White picket fence, keep up with the Joneses, Western Judeo-Christian social expectations fulfilled. You know how it is. You did it. Yeah. Well, it doesn't always have to be that way. You don't have to date every woman with the intention of having a long-term relationship. Not all good relationships are long-term. Not all serious relationships are meant to be permanent. Marriage is not always the goal. Sometimes it's exactly what it should be. It lasts while it lasts. It ends when it's supposed to end. And what you get out of it is what you both needed. I hope so. You learn all you can teach each other and move on, enriching your lives. It becomes part of your history and identity. I've had wonderful relationships with lovers that were just perfect, not only because of how I felt in them while they lasted, but also how and when they ended. I still treasure them to this day. That hit me like a baseball. I remembered Steph's stunned reaction to Liz telling her that you don't have to have fun and then marry everyone you fall in love with. I probably looked exactly the same way. She sensed it. My face was in the back of her head, but she read my body when it tensed or stiffened or whatever I was doing. Think of it as you going to school, she continued, completely relaxed. You enroll, you take classes, you participate in student life. You have friends, sports, classes. You do your work, you have friends, you go to parties and concerts, you study late, you eat pizza and worry about exams, you learn how not to get sick from drinking too much, you live your life. You are a student. That's what you are. And then, one day, you graduate from university. It wasn't meant to be forever. But that doesn't mean it was bad. It doesn't mean it wasn't what you needed, or that it was fake, or that it was a mistake. The fact that it was over doesn't make it a failure. It was a success. You'll still look back on it as a good thing you needed to do, and you're glad you did it. And you'll always be a graduate. Is that what this is? Are you my professor? Well, I am a professor, remember? But no, not in that sense. In this case, you're more like my Padawan. You will begin as an apprentice, become my partner, and then become a Jedi in your own right. Perhaps you'll even surpass me. That is my hope. But I will always be your mentor. We will always have that. My arms wrapped around her, and she clung to them even tighter. Besides, the day may come when you will be called upon to avenge your honorable Kung Fu master Grasshopper. I distinctly remember that we decided you were Batgirl, so I would be your Robin. But I was supposed to grow up, take on the mantle of Bat for a while, and then go across the river to Bloodhaven and become Nightwing. There, now you're talking. Is that what your plans for me are? Clever boy. Something like that. Something very similar, in fact. Yes. And how many of your projects have ended up with you doing something very similar? 2. 2? Out of 30? I told you you were special. I didn't know what to say to that. Then something perfect occurred to me. By the hammer of Grabtar, by the son of Varvin, you shall be avenged, she purred like a kitten. Next chapter. The next morning, Cookie had to get up early. She wanted to get to the gym before her 8 o'clock class. She woke me up with the sound of her blender making some horrible green grass milkshake. Gotta run! Lock up when you leave! Love you! She kissed me and left, a vision in tight spandex. I gave myself another 5 minutes to bask in the sheets. I felt rather than saw a presence. A shadow and 2 green eyes flashed. Sebastian? The cat disappeared as soon as I twitched. I rolled off the bed, nearly killing myself showering in her slippery bathroom again, and gathered my things. It dawned on me that I wasn't going to live here. I would come back, but only as a guest. That's all I was this time. Hell, was I really only a guest in Stephanie's life too? A visiting traveler destined to eventually move on? Was I a guest in my own life? Was my whole life one big transition state while I tried not to cause myself problems? Trying to minimize my impact? Minimize my footprint? God. My career in logistics has been about moving things from place to place, building infrastructure, and increasing efficiency. Is that what my life is all about? Moving things from place to place but never staying in one place? Making things available to others but never using them? I shook my head to chase away the cobwebs. No. You don't have to go there. It's okay to be sad. Let it wash over you. Don't let her define you. Don't let it become you. Sadness will come and go. Anxious thoughts will come and go. This is not what I do. It's not what I do. I make plans. I make decisions. I see things through to completion. That's what I do. I took a job and did my thing, losing myself in the process for a while. When I got far enough ahead, I decided where I wanted to go next. I wanted to pursue this career. That part of my life worked, as did the name Cookie. I had options. I could even go overseas. Why not? The only thing that tied me to this neighborhood was Jessie, but she'd have better job prospects elsewhere, and in another 3 years, she could move God knows where. Maybe she'd find a man and he'd take her somewhere else. Michael would probably end up in Chicago. He knew the career he wanted, and no armies or unfavorable circumstances could tear him away from it. This guy was a force of nature. It was time to tell the truth. I didn't want to leave this neighborhood because of Cookie either. Whatever was going on with her, it was just beginning. It had only been a week, but damn, what a week it had been. Maybe. She wasn't. I couldn't have her in my head. She wasn't going to be my. It wasn't a relationship. It wasn't. Was it? If it was, it wasn't like anything I'd ever had before. Maybe she's right. Maybe this is what's meant to happen, but it doesn't have to be forever. I had no idea how long it would last, or what it would turn into. I was back in the abyss. Stop it, Dave. I decided to find out what roles the company could offer me in the Windy City for the next few years, with an eye toward moving overseas when the kids were independent. I sent a few emails and waited for a response. I arranged a 3-month stay in a suite at the extended stay hotel we were using, at the corporate rate. It was only a mile from the office, and within walking distance of stores and restaurants. It even had a small gym. I decided to buy a bicycle. In the long run, do I want a house or a condo? Maybe a condominium? I need one big enough to have enough room for the kids. Guest rooms? I didn't want them to be guests. I wanted them to have their own rooms, their own space. Maybe they won't use it often or at all, but they'll have it. Huh. Many empty families look forward to remodeling their kids' rooms to make more space for themselves. I, on the other hand, am looking forward to making new ones. Am I even moving in the right direction? Maybe I just need a bachelor pad? Shit. I burrowed into my work and spent the rest of the day researching real estate. I got a few emails about Chicago, and yes, they were definitely interested in me moving there. After work, I went straight to my new apartment and unloaded my car. It didn't take long at all. I got on my phone, which Stephanie tried to blow up again. I wouldn't let her. I deleted all her crap and sent her a single message telling her about the marriage counselor appointment scheduled for the following Wednesday. She replied with another batch of messages that I didn't bother to read. It was the first night in the last 3 that I hadn't spent with Cookie. In fact, I'd spent more time with her in the last week than I'd spent with Stephanie in the last year. I mean, meaningful conversations. Realizing that someone cares about me. Feeling appreciated and wanted. Just holding each other. Holy crap. It really was a full-blown romance. And then I wondered how much of that sort of thing Steph had been up to with the shit line. Probably a lot. Probably a lot. My stomach clenched. She certainly hadn't done anything like that with me. No wonder our relationship was abandoned. She was getting her emotional sustenance elsewhere. Damn it. Was I not on top of things? Was it my fault for not being enough for her? Shit. I'd heard somewhere that if you want to take control of a situation, you have to accept responsibility for it. What was my fault in the failure of this marriage? Was I neglecting her? Did she feel unappreciated? Ignored? Was I complacent? Uncommunicative? I didn't think so. And the first thing she wrote in her Dear Dave letter was that I was a wonderful husband and that I had nothing to do with it. Was that true? Or was she just blowing smoke up my ass? No. No, I think she was sincere. She wasn't slow to find faults in me if she had the chance. But she certainly never showed any resentment. My phone was still in my hand when Cookie called. Hey, Dave. Hi, Cookie. Ooh, you don't seem to be in a good mood. Have you started feeling sorry for yourself again? Oh, yeah, I guess so. Maybe a little more introspective. Good. Well, it can't be avoided completely. Some of it's going to happen no matter what. Just don't let it ruin your whole evening, okay? Okay. Listen, I wanted to check in on you and let you know that I'm working at the club tonight. I'm dancing Thursdays and Fridays this semester. That works best with my schedule. Didn't you get up early today? Yes, it's a long day, but I have a 5-hour break in the afternoon, and I always manage to take a nap. I just wanted to let you know that I won't be able to meet you until Saturday. Oh, and if you want to come to the club, I highly recommend against it. You may think you can handle it, but trust me, watching me work will be awkward and weird. I don't want to put you through that. Okay. Yeah, I guess I understand. I thought you weren't in the club anymore. Why did you think that? Jessica said her friends went looking for you. Oh, yeah. Jerome knows to tell the college kids I'm not there. I have 4 places in town that I move back and forth to, so they don't get mixed up under my feet, and I always use different names. I do get recognized from time to time, but it's less often than you'd think. College guys don't usually have a lot of money to spend on strip clubs. I guess that's true. I wasn't so lucky when I was in college. Maybe you just lacked confidence. Trust me, you're a godsend. Thanks. Hi. I was wondering. When you dance, do you always pick a name that starts with an S? As a matter of fact, yes. Why? Just wondering. The guy in the private room booth called you C. Jerry's known me a long time. He said I was lucky enough to be one of your special cases. I mean, he meant it sucks, but I'm in good hands. He's nice. Is he one of your special cases too? No. He's married to a great guy, Daniel. They've been together for almost 20 years. Huh? I wouldn't have guessed that. What, he's gay? He just doesn't look manly. He cares a lot about girls and is very good at reading clients. Sounds like a good man for the job. It is. Hey, listen, I've got to go. I just wanted to check on you. Did you get a good long-term job at that hotel? Yeah, I'm already there. Good. Also, you still owe me a dinner party. Can we set it up on Saturday? Oh, yeah, sure. Saturday is good. Where would you like to go? Surprise me. Just somewhere that has healthier food. The thought of Ruth's Chris was lovely, but honestly, the food there is too hearty for me. Okay, wear something nice but not too much. Huh? Okay, then we both have a decision to make. Right. Okay. Have a good night. Don't feel sorry for yourself for more than, say, another 45 minutes, okay? And then get out of here. Do something fun for yourself, something you don't normally do. Unless you get drunk, don't do that. You'll thank me later. Okay? I promise. 2 more times. Okay. I promise I won't feel sorry for myself all night. I'll take care of myself and do something fun that I don't usually do. Good man. I'll see you on Saturday. Call me tomorrow. Okay, I love you. I love you too. We ended the conversation. I could feel the walls going up. It must have been helpful. I thought about going to watch her dance again, but she was right. That would be weird. I'd be jealous and depressed, and that's not good. I broke my promise and spent the rest of the night immersed in myself. Next chapter. The next day at work, I was surprisingly productive, considering I also spent a lot of time researching real estate online. I'd decided to buy a condo, and I had several options to consider, though none of them seemed realistic. Geez. Was I really going to move? Surely that would be better for me professionally. I didn't want to stay in this house. The kids? Well, that was going to come out soon no matter what. I didn't expect any of them to live in this house permanently again. It wasn't the house anymore. It was that house, and it had already been finalized. Also, my first consultation with a divorce attorney was scheduled for 2 in the afternoon. I made sure to gather all the necessary paperwork they asked for and showed up on time. As I walked into the room, my heart ached, even though I was determined to see the case through. My attorney was a woman named Alicia Swanson. I had heard that men do better in these cases when their attorneys are women, and women do better when their attorneys are men. I had no idea if that was true. I showed her my financial statements and the letter Stephanie had written. Wow, this is really bad, she said. You do realize this is a no-fault state. Technically, it doesn't matter what she did or why the marriage is falling apart. But it's still not good for her. It was foolish of her to leave such things in writing. It would help to get a favorable outcome to the case. What are we trying to accomplish? I just want it done. A fair division. We'll sell the house. There's tons of equity in it that can be multiplied. The kids are 19. Custody and child support aren't a problem, right? Right, but you're still paying their tuition, at least your share, and you're a co-borrower on their loans. Divorce doesn't change anything. Any help you want to give them to improve their quality of life can go directly to them or to a trust they can access. It doesn't have to go through Stephanie. She furrowed her brow. I don't want to... Well, it doesn't have to change anything. But they're your children, aren't they? Have you had them DNA tested? It had crossed my mind. Steph said she wouldn't do it to me, and I gave her a rather snide reply when she said that. I didn't do any DNA tests, but even if I did, they're still my kids no matter what. I love them more than anything in the world. I've been their father their whole lives, and anything beyond that is not their fault and will not affect our relationship. That's the right attitude. Good. Let's just keep that option in case things get ugly. I understand that you don't want things to get violent, and for your sake, I hope things work out. However, I am your advocate, and I want to be prepared for anything. Even just doing the test will look like a fat screw you to your ex. I'm not going to lie, I'm hurt. My life was ruined. I'm still mad as hell. She thoroughly deserved that screw you. But I want to appear polite and reasonable, at least at first, at least on paper. And I want to keep the alimony to a minimum. I see. Well, given the difference in income and the length of your marriage, alimony is pretty much a given. The only thing that could completely negate them is if she marries someone else. The letter she wrote can help lower the alimony with an equal husbands statement. We can also lower it if we can prove that her new boyfriend is a means of support for her. Are they living together? As far as I can tell, she lives with him. Just living. I don't think she's moved in, and I can't prove anything. Let's see if we can find out. Maybe we should hire a private investigator. I know a few we could work with. I mean, the affair is out in the open now. Aren't these guys expensive? Wouldn't that save so much alimony? She shrugged. It's a compromise. If you wanted to enforce a prenup or sue for alienation of affection or something, then yeah, definitely. But for the sake of a possible partial reduction in alimony? Not really. It would take years for the investigation to pay off, if at all. Honestly, it would be easier to just get her to admit where she lives. Are you staying at the house? No, I was at a friend's house. Now I live in an extended stay apartment near my work. But you say she's not in the house? I changed the locks. Then she broke in and changed the locks again. She locked you out? Practically. And yet she herself isn't there? But she claims she wants you back? That doesn't make sense. You're right. None of it makes sense. She sighed. It often doesn't. It's okay. We'll get through this. As long as you're both safe, it doesn't matter. Will she fight about the house, the money, or insist on dragging her feet on counseling? Actually, I already have a counseling appointment. Really? You agreed to it? Yes. Not to make up. To work things out. I'm even paying for it. Well, it may or may not work. Don't be surprised if things don't go the way you want them to. Nevertheless, your willingness to come to counseling shows that you are eager to keep things amicable, and the courts like that. Believe me, family court judges don't like having to try pointless fights. I understand that. Believe it or not, the lawyers don't like it either. Most of the fights we take on behalf of our clients are really stupid. I once fought for 6 weeks over the ownership of a coffee table that no one cared about. The fact is, people leave marriages, period. You simply can't stay married to someone who doesn't want to be married to you. It just takes time for the legal rules to catch up with reality. 8 times out of 10, when couples get divorced, they agree they don't want to be together, but they drag out the process because they are trying to hurt each other. Sure, it means more money for me, but honestly, everyone would be much better off if you just get it over with quickly. I seem to like this woman. She shuffled through the papers, seemingly ready to call it a day. I think we've had enough for today. I can be ready to file in a week or so. Let me know when and where you want it delivered. As soon as possible, at his house, or no, at work, or no. Think about it. Time and place matter. They convey friendliness or hostility. Friendliness is better. For you. In the moment. If need be, I can get mean and fight with the best of them. God knows you've given me enough work. But you say you don't want to go out with guns drawn. Right? That's right. Well, okay. I'll think about it. When is your counseling session? Wednesday. We'll see how it goes. Call me after that. She tucked my paperwork into a box of folders. And try to enjoy the rest of the day. Trust me, things could be a lot worse. Okay. I walked out of the office. Next chapter. I called Jessica. It went to voicemail. Almost immediately, a message came through. Hi, I'm with my mom right now. Not a good time. Call me at 8 o'clock. I sent a KK in response, which I knew meant okay, but not why. I called Michael instead. Hey, Dad. How are you doing? Any news? Just met with the divorce lawyer. Michael was silent. Still there? I can't believe this is happening, that's all. The process is set in motion. It will take a week or so to file the papers and serve them on her. Then it'll be another few months, maybe a year, and that's if things move quickly. We have a counseling session scheduled for Wednesday. I wanted to use it to pull your mother's head out of her ass, but I've been told it may not go as I expect. I'm sure at some point I'll be asked to take responsibility for my part in the collapse of the marriage, whatever it is. You're not a failure, Dad. I can see how you might think that. I mean, I've done some reading. Your feelings are valid and not uncommon, but hell, I'm not good at this. People tend to take things personally. Kids always blame themselves when their parents divorce, even though everyone knows they had nothing to do with it. Oh my God. Michael, you don't think it's your fault, do you? No, not really. I mean, those kinds of thoughts have crossed my mind, but it's not hard for me to dismiss them. I haven't left the house in almost a year. And before that, well, it seemed to me that Mom was trying to keep any of us out of it, wasn't she? You're right. She was only thinking about herself. I agree. Listen, I don't want to talk bad about your mom. She's still your mom. Nothing will ever change that. I don't want to interfere with your relationship or turn you against her, okay? You won't. You won't. I mean, I don't like it, but I'm still going to think what I think. I just hope the girl I marry doesn't do something like that to me someday. She, well, God, I want to tell you she won't do that, but I probably can't. There's no telling. I just hope you have better luck than I did. Maybe this whole marriage thing isn't what it seems, huh? Don't say that. Like I said, I've done a little reading. Generation Z isn't marrying and having kids at the same rate as previous generations. Millennials were slower than Generation X, and you guys were slower than boomers too. Young people seem to be rethinking all of this. Maybe there's a reason for that. Maybe there is. You know what? What? I'm really glad I have such smart kids. Glad to help. Hold on. He must have been fiddling with his phone. Jessica's calling me. She's with her mother. You'd better pick up. I'll call you back. Bye. Love you, Daddy. Next chapter. 45 minutes passed. Dad? Hi, Michael. So Jessica was in a bit of a state of confusion. Mostly she was just crying. Shit. Is she okay? I'm going to call her. No, I'll go to her. I'm here, Daddy, she said. Michael paged you. Oh, hi, honey. I'm all right. I'm better. What happened to your mom? Oh, God, it was awful. She kept trying to convince me that Mr. Davenport should be part of our family. She wanted me to accept him as, like a stepfather or something, that he should be her second husband. She what? I think she's lost her mind. It's probably perimenopause or something. I told her she was crazy, and you'd never agree with that, and neither would I. But it was like talking to a wall. She's created this bizarre fantasy scenario and won't budge from it. This woman sincerely believes that she brought Lee Davenport into this family? Yes, that's what she said. Like she is. Jessie cried again. Daddy, I don't know. I don't know how she can do this. How can she do this to you? How can she do this to us? I don't know what's wrong with her. She's... Breathe, Jessie. Calm down. Yeah, little sister. We've been over this. She still cried for a few minutes. Jessie, I'll come get you. No, you don't have to. Yes, I do. Look, I'm not going to do anything anyway. I can't leave you like this. Let me feed you dinner. Let me be there for you. Please. She said nothing. For my sake. Let your father do this for you. For me. You're a good father, she said. The best, Michael agreed. I'm leaving. I'll be in a public place near my dorm. Text me when you're a 5-minute walk away. Okay. I love you, Daddy. I love you, Jessie. And you, Michael. I love you too. Take care of my baby sister, Daddy. I will. We ended the conversation. I sent the text message. Jessie got into my car, carrying a gym bag. I guess she wasn't going to spend the night at the dorm. I took her out to dinner and she couldn't eat anything but soup. We hardly spoke at all. We went back to my hotel room and sat on the couch. My strong, smart, capable 19-year-old daughter was a 7-year-old again. I just held her in my arms and we could feel each other's breath. Sometimes just being there for each other is enough. Next chapter. Jessie spent the night on the fold-out couch, and I took her to breakfast before bringing her back to campus. It was Saturday, so neither of us needed to go anywhere. Breakfast turned into brunch and a long phone call with Michael at the same time. I got her back to campus and got to work on my email. My transfer to Chicago was pretty much a done deal. If I wanted to, I could be there in 6 weeks. The company would even pay my moving expenses. I narrowed my choice of condos down to 2 and sent them to Michael to get his opinion. Maybe in a few years we'd be roommates. I did the laundry. I had a week's worth of laundry to do, but it was less than I was used to. I couldn't remember the last time I did laundry just for myself. I always did it with Stephanie and the kids. While all this was going on, I sent Cookie a text confirming our date at a tapas restaurant neither of us had ever been to before. Stephanie continued to leave me messages, which I ignored. After what she had done to Jessica, I had no desire to participate in her delusions. I met Cookie at a tapas restaurant. If you haven't tried it yet, they bring you small portions of different dishes that you share amongst yourselves. Order enough and you'll be full. I figured there would be enough healthier options to satisfy Cookie. She was thrilled with the idea. So, how's the extended stay treating you? She kissed my cheek as we sat down. It's okay. It's not too crowded. Yeah, sorry. You're always welcome in my house, Dave, but you can tell there's really only room for me here in the long run. Yes, and at least I won't kill myself slipping into your shower. You really should get one of those non-slip mats. I have one. It's rolled up in an umbrella stand between the wall and the corner of the tub behind the hot water faucet. Really? You haven't seen it? No. Damn, you're lucky you didn't kill yourself. You should have told me he was there. I wasn't thinking. I'm sorry. I always shower at the gym or at the club. I only use this tub to lounge around in. It's great for that. It's very relaxing. Huh? You know, that actually did cross my mind. What we're missing. A shower mat. Stephanie's novel. God, the world must be full of stuff we don't even realize is out there, but threatens us around every corner. My mood darkened, but Cookie, as usual, saw right through me. I thought about deflecting attention away from myself by asking about how she'd danced the last 2 nights, but realized that I'd be answered with, "What happens in the club stays in the club." I silently wondered if she was prostituting herself and decided I really didn't want to know. I also didn't want her reading my mind about it. Dave, you're a million miles away. Sorry, I guess I am. I've got a lot on my mind. Stephanie. Well, yeah, and also about you. You were right when you told me not to come to the club. I don't think it would have cheered me up. It would have been hard, and the future. I'm going to Chicago. I've made my decision. But am I running towards something new or am I running away? I really don't know what I'm doing these days. I have no idea what's in store for me. I don't know what I'm missing. And despite everything I've done, I don't feel like I'm in control of any of it. She nodded. Because something terrible happened to you. Well, yeah. Good. Well, we can't always control what happens to us. We usually can't. But there's a lesson you still haven't learned. I've told you about it before, but it's never been learned. When you do, you'll understand it. Until then, it's just words. But I am a teacher, and I will show it to you in different ways until you understand it. Are you ready? Of course. We'll see. It will come down on you when you're ready, and not a second before. The lesson is simple. Bad things happen, and we can't control them. What we can really control is ourselves. You have absolute and ultimate control over how you let things affect you. It's not an easy thing to do. We are slippery and not always true to our intentions. Things affect us in ways we don't understand, and therefore can't deal with them properly. Our feelings get in the way of our judgment. But in the end, the only person responsible for how you react to anything is yourself. I mean, yes, that's true. But I can't help. No, screw it. Look at me. Look at what happened to me, and look at who I am now. It's not going to happen overnight. You can choose to fight this for the rest of your life. You may or may not decide to fight it for the rest of your life. It, depends, you, and you, alone. Okay, I want you to visualize something. Picture a man, and something terrible has happened to him. He feels like his life has been ruined, that he's been robbed of any chance of happiness. Not much of an imagination, is it? He's not you. His name was William Ernest Henley. He lived in the late 19th century, and he was stricken with illness. He lost a leg and spent most of his life in great physical pain. Here is what he told me about what happened to him. Out of the night that covers me, black as a pit, from pole to pole, I thank all the gods for my invincible soul. Under the blows of circumstance, I did not flinch or cry out. Under the blows of chance, my head is bloody, but not broken. Beyond this place of anger and tears, only the horror of the shadow looms. And yet the threat of the years finds me, and will find me without fear. No matter how strict the gate, no matter the scroll of punishment, I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. The title of the poem is Invictus, which means invincible. He is defeated, he is bruised and battered. From the outside, it looks like he's destroyed, but he's not. He is willing to do more, as long as it doesn't kill him. But even in death, he will not be defeated. He will not be defeated. He can be driven to the ground, but he will never bend the knee. Oh my God, was all I could say. The ground spun, and I had to grab the edge of the table to keep from falling. Can you feel it? Yes, oh God, yes. Fortitude, David. Strength. Determination. Invictus. Yes. Who is the captain of your ship? I am. Who is the captain of your soul? I am. I can't hear you. I am. Who decides what you do? I am. Right. Invictus. Damn, Skippy. So there you go. You've been dealt a heavy hand. Could have been better, could have been worse. Doesn't matter. You decide how things are going to be. You decide because they are yours. Speak the truth about yourself. Be honest about it. Make decisions for yourself because you are the one making them. Be real about it. You're not selling a product to anyone, much less yourself. That's the way to live. I hadn't drunk anything, but I felt drunk. It doesn't have to happen overnight. It almost can't happen. I just have to keep going. One day at a time, like they say in the 12 steps. It's just, I don't expect you to just brush it off, David. I just expect you to keep going. Because you have decided to keep going. That's how you stay undefeated, no matter what happens. Like when Worf was captured by the Dominion and kept fighting in the arena with Jem'Hadar. DS9. Very good. I'm glad to be in the company of another dedicated nerd. I told you my head was full of this nonsense. Your head and your heart. They're full of the best things in the world, Dave. I spent the rest of dinner in a much better mood, and at the end, Cookie said, "Come with me." We were in the touristy part of town, near the arena and convention center. There was a small jewelry store, barely bigger than a kiosk, and she pulled me inside. Was she expecting a gift? What's your ring size, Dave? On your right hand, not your left. I don't know. Never mind. Here, they'll size you up. So they did. The old man had a stack of different sized rings on a large loop, and he took my measurement while Cookie looked through the case. This one, she said, picking out a manly piece of titanium alloy. Not gold. Is that an engagement ring? You're doing the lettering, aren't you? While we wait. The guy answered in the affirmative. Good. Here's what I want. On the inside of the ribbon. 3 words. Spread them evenly across the inside, not all together. Like here and here and here and here, she said, pointing. She took out a piece of notepaper and wrote 3 words that I couldn't see. What are you talking about, Cookie? It's a present. From me to you. I can't let you do that. You don't have to let me. I'm making it. You don't have to wear it. Throw it in the river if you want, but I'll do it. But you said... What did I say? You said it's not a relationship. It's not... Oh. No, you misunderstood. It's from me to you, but the ring isn't about me. It's not about us. It's about you. It's supposed to be a reminder. A reminder of what? You'll see. She slipped the ring on my finger when the guy finished the job and paid with a credit card. It fit perfectly and looked good on me. Cookie has great taste. I felt weird, though. I had worn a ring on my left hand for 20 years, but never wore anything on my right hand, and now everything had changed. I was truly in the looking glass. I took it off and read the inscription. Fortitudo, Integritas, Invictus, Strength, Integrity, Unconquered, she said. Let that be a light for you in the dark places when all other lights go out. I smirked. Galadriel's gift, the light of Arendelle. Goodness, nothing gets past you, O master of nerd trivia. Her smile shone as brightly as any Silmaril. When it gets dark, when you feel broken or hopeless or alone, touch the ring and remember. Hopefully you won't have to fight Shelob. I doubt it will come to that. I'm going to Chicago, not Mordor. I kissed the ring and then kissed her cheek. Thank you, Cookie. I'll treasure it forever. I'll wear it and do what you said, but I'll also think of you and everything you've done for me. Wow, don't get all snotty on me here. This isn't goodbye. I'm leaving. And you're coming back. And I'll be there. Sure, it won't be regular, but I promised you a long drive, and I'm going to fulfill it. Okay. Thank you. It's part of your journey, Padawan. Speaking of traveling, I've packed a bag. Allow me to follow you to your new abode. Next chapter. Well, it was one hell of a night. Cookie and I made good use of each other, and she lounged in the shower stall. We didn't spend the afternoon together until after a quick breakfast. She had a mountain of final papers, and we both had work to do the next day. Michael was shocked that I had offered to live with him, or rather, move in with me when he moved to Chicago in a few years, but seemed excited about the idea. He couldn't wait to get his own place, but the Windy City isn't cheap, and he'd probably need a roommate anyway. A roommate who pays all the bills, is happy to have you around, and promises to keep his nose out of your business is the best option. He didn't want to make a commitment, but said he liked one of the apartments better than the other. Monday went without incident. Tuesday also passed without incident. The highlight of the day was visiting another sushi place with Cookie, her treat. She was thrilled to see me wearing my ring. I didn't take it off. I saw it as a new commitment to myself. The sushi was much better than the first time, and the steak helped. Cookie knows her stuff. She even taught me how to use the chopsticks. It was her treat, but I couldn't help but notice that it cost twice as much. We managed not to talk about my meeting with Steph the next day, but I kept touching the ring anyway. Next chapter. Wednesday afternoon. Big day. I showed up at the counselor's office exactly as scheduled. I didn't want to show up late and look cranky. I also didn't want to show up early and let Steph ambush me. I decided that Gandalf's attitude of punctuality would be appropriate. I arrived a little early, parked the car where she was unlikely to be seen, and walked through the door with 1 minute to go. She wasn't there. I wandered around the reception area with a lost look. I sat down with a cup of awful coffee from the Keurig coffee machine and waited. After 10 minutes, I decided enough was enough. There was no one at the front desk, and I stomped around until I found someone to ask. A girl was reading something on her tablet. "Hi, I'm supposed to meet Jordan Koenig. He's in session right now. He won't be available until an hour from now." "I'm part of a couple he's supposed to be in session with. This is our first meeting. My name is David Jameson. You?" The girl furrowed her eyebrows. "Let me take a look at the calendar. Employees usually make their own appointments." She walked over to the simple reception desk and tapped the screen. "Jameson. Right. They're in room 4. She frowned. "I thought you'd be here by now. Why would... Never mind. Thanks." I found room 4 and knocked. After a moment, the door was opened by a young man. "I'm sorry, but we're in session and can't be disturbed. Cheney should have warned you. I'm David Jameson." "You're... who's... then..." His eyes opened a little wider. "I think you'd better come in." In the room sat Stephanie and her bloody boyfriend, Lee Davenport. "Great, you're here." Stephanie cheered me on. "It's rude of you to be so late, but now we can really get started." "Stephanie, what the hell is he doing here?" "No, wait, let me guess. You came here together. You let Jordan and... Cheney?" I looked at the counselor, who nodded. "You let them think he was your husband." I waited about 10 or 12 minutes. "Well, that's what we're here to talk about, isn't it?" I clenched my right fist. My knuckles must have turned white. I relaxed and slipped my thumb between my fingers to touch the ring, a gift from Galadriel. Strength, integrity, Invictus. Get a grip, Dave. Don't let the bastards win. God, I was about to fight Shelob. Before I could speak, Jordan decided to take matters into his own hands. "Mrs. Jameson, is this your husband? And this is your lover? Is that correct? Bringing him to this session was highly inappropriate. He is not a party to your marriage, just the two of you." Lee Davenport was completely still, as if he was afraid to move or speak. He looked like a small lizard trying not to be eaten by a cat. "We're soulmates," Stephanie said. "I thought this was the opportunity we all needed, so we could sit down and talk like adults and work things out, without David throwing another tantrum." Jordan looked at me. I decided that the less I said, the more I won. "David isn't throwing a tantrum, Stephanie. He seems to be. Very well in control of himself. And to be honest, I'm sure he considers this man's presence here a provocation of sorts." "Worthy of a response," I clarified. "And what would your response be?" "Okay, yes, this man is a therapist. What's the old joke? How many therapists does it take to change a light bulb? How many do you think it should take?" That's a terrible joke. Anyway, I had the floor. My reaction. Well, I can't think of a better demonstration of the state of my failed marriage. My spurned wife is clearly out of her mind if she thinks I'm going to be part of her shit show. I headed for the door. I'll pay for this session, but not for the next one. And I'm not coming back. Please, the three of you should use this time to try to explain to Stephanie how screwed up she is. See, he's being so immature. A reasonable adult would have at least stayed and talked about it. She looked strangely triumphant. Stephanie, I really hope an epiphany comes upon you one day. Expect to be served by the end of the week. I'm done with you. I left. It turned out those were the last words I would say to her in person more than 6 years later. Next chapter. Alicia Swanson was true to her word and worked quickly. She even managed to get a restraining order against Stephanie after her little prank in the counselor's office. Stephanie got the papers at Lee Davenport's house 51 hours after I left them. She'd created obstacles, of course. But I didn't need to live in that house. My relationship with Michael and Jessica was secure. Hell, I moved to Chicago and was able to get distracted by work and settle into a new city. I didn't have to get married again. I could wait as long as it took. Even if the divorce dragged on forever, I was already done being married to this woman. In the meantime, I wasn't going to live like I had before. Stephanie didn't want to sell the house. That was okay. She didn't live in it, and neither did I. It was 75% paid for, and there was a lot of equity in it. So I kept paying the mortgage. It was no big deal. She would have gotten custody of the kids if she could, but it was a moot point since they were already adults. Besides, they thought she was crazy. They pulled 23andMe genetic testing kits off the drugstore shelves and gave one to me just to get the screw you message to Stephanie. She wanted to fight. I didn't react or respond. In the end, Alicia was right. The cold, hard truth is that you can't stay married to someone who doesn't want to be married to you, especially if they are willing to go to great lengths to get out of it. This process took 21 months. Steph married Lee Davenport, barely had time for the ink to dry on our divorce papers, which saved me a ton in alimony. That marriage lasted about 10 months. It seems that the illicit relationship was a big part of the dynamic of their relationship. Once he became her permanent husband, things fell apart. He found another position in another neighborhood, and after another year, he moved out of state. She remarried, stuck with him for a while, then he cheated and left her. After that, she got together with another woman and immediately moved in with her. What's the old joke? What does a lesbian bring on a second date? Answer: a truck. I know, it's another terrible joke. It's not funny at all. Anyway, this relationship quickly turned into the stereotypical lesbian bed death. She now regularly cheats on her partner with other men and calls herself polyamorous, though I dare say most of her playmates don't see it that way. Moving to Chicago allowed me to move up a few more rungs on the corporate ladder, and now I'm seriously considering retirement. Michael moved in with me after he got his degree. This went on for almost 2 years until he found a girl he liked and decided to move in with her. I'm sure she was much better company. They got married, and I'm expecting a grandchild soon. Jessica doesn't seem to be in a long-term relationship. She is traveling the world, moonlighting here and there, visiting her friends from high school and college, and making new and varied acquaintances. I assume she'll settle down sooner or later, but she's in no hurry. Maybe she's right and marriage isn't what it could be. I never got married. I haven't yet. I still get too much attention from divorced women my age, and I don't want to be in that position again. Besides, I have major trust issues, I admit that. But at least I have my reasons, and I know it's not just me. Verdi was right. La donna è mobile. I still wear the ring Cookie gave me every day, and I touch it often to strengthen it. I still have a relationship with Cookie, although we never went further than I have already described. She comes to Chi-Town for spring or fall break from time to time, as promised, and I take a long weekend and visit her at her house. Sebastian is no longer scary around me, though it took him a few years to get there. Oh, and she included me in her next book. The book, Dr. Heartbreaker, explores the communities and support networks that spring up around those who have recently divorced. I was one of her success stories. Next chapter. On one of her visits, we were walking around Centennial after a day of touring. There is a lot to see there. We visited the Field Museum and had dinner at Lou Malnati's, which she really enjoyed despite her complaints about too much cheese. By the way, I figured it out, I said without looking at her. What did you figure out? Your tattoo. No, I didn't figure it out. Her sad smile was more of a smirk. No, figured it out. I don't have to guess. I'm sure. No. You can be sure, but I assure you that you're wrong. She took my hand. Just do me a favor, okay? And don't dismiss any of your guesses. I know we've been through a lot together, and we've become very close. That's not uncommon for me, but I'm sure it is for you. You feel like you know me well enough, but no one does. No one understands. Look, I admit, sometimes I let people guess all three ways and then they never know. But in your case, it breaks my heart a little bit. With you, dear David, it's better to keep the odds alive and untested. Trust me. I squeezed her hand gently and turned to touch her face. The reason no one has ever gotten it right, I said, is that everyone thinks it means three different things. That's not correct. It's the same thing, repeated 3 times. To seal it, like a ritual or a talisman. Her eyes widened. She dropped my hand and staggered back half a step. What? How could you? She closed her eyes, shook her head, and shuddered. No way. I pulled her to me and put my right hand between her shoulder blades, right where the tattoo was. I pressed my lips to her ear, whispering, quietly humming a timeless melody full of promise, joy, and pure magic. S is cookie. That's good enough for me. As I hummed, I traced the letter C with my finger along one of the 3 curved lines that made up the knot of the triquetra. She sighed. C is cookie. That's enough for me. The second curved line was the letter C inverted 120 degrees. C is cookie. That's enough for me. The third letter C, lying on the front, joined the ends of the first 2, completing the knot. Oh, cookie, 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 cookie. Cookie starts with C. I drew a circle around the drawing, just as she did, making sure to run my finger over each of the 3 leaves each time I chanted the word cookie. She trembled in my hands. I leaned back and looked into her eyes. They were bright and filled with tears. It's always in your head, like a little affirmation. You find strength in it. That's what you said. She nodded. The tattoo is your name, I said. Or rather, it's your signature, written in a way that only you can understand. It is your identity. This Muppet is your Bodhiswata, and this is his song. Now that you are an adult, this is your truth and your power. Why can't a silly joke or a child's song be a profound truth? It can be both. You taught me that. But that's not all. Go on, she barely audibly whispered. Tears streamed down her face. Why do we put our names on things? What does the signature mean? It means we call these things our own. We take responsibility for them. If someone's name was tattooed on you, it would mean you belong to them forever. It would be a public statement to everyone who saw it. But you put your own name on yourself, in your own flesh, forever. You have declared that you belong to yourself, and only to yourself, not to anyone else. No one who sees it will recognize it. It is a private declaration. Everyone else is excluded. You have done it 3 times, signed it, sealed it, delivered it, using symbols that have special meaning to you. Whenever you dance under another name, it always starts with C. You also use the private room number 3. The number 3 keeps popping up all around you everywhere, as if it were magic. 3 is a magic number. That's what high school rock taught you. And of course, C is the 3rd letter of the alphabet. As I spoke, her slight nods had increased in frequency, and now she was wiggling her face up and down in time with my voice. I can't believe it. I thought no one. She shuddered again. I knew you were special as soon as I laid eyes on you. You'll never belong to anyone else, will you? You've said that so many times, but no one has ever believed you, have they? They think love is too strong, that the cultural demand for romance or your emotional needs or whatever will win out in the end. But in the meantime, you're just being stubborn, denying a part of yourself. I honor a part of myself, she said. You're right. No one understands that. They think I've succumbed to my trauma. That's how it started, of course. It's impossible to overcome what I've been through. There is no one else for me. There never has been. And there never will be. She looked at me as if she was looking through me. That's not just a negative. It's an affirmation. I belong to myself. Ultimately, every person belongs to themselves. We are in denial when we believe otherwise. The difference is that I know 100% that I'm good enough for myself. Yes, you really are good enough. And I'm glad you are, Cookie. There's no one else I'd trust with my friend. She broke down, completely in tears, crying her eyes out and hugging me like I was the last lifeline in a storm-filled ocean. "Thank you," she said after a few moments, and then a few more to gather her thoughts. "Thank you for understanding. Thank you for understanding me. And God, thank you for respecting him, for respecting me. That's what's missing. Certainly not in most relationships," I said. "I'm proud to be a part of it. And I'm proud of you." "Proud of what?" "You've made your life something important. You gave yourself a purpose. I worry that most of us never do that. We just cower and go about our business." "You're right about that. I think most of us are probably destined to just rummage around. Saving the world isn't for wimps." She snorted. "There's something I need from you, Dave." "You name it. Anything. First of all, go ahead. I know you're going to be okay, but that doesn't change the fact that you're still going to get hurt sometimes. Just survive. Get well. Get well. And thrive. Whatever it takes. I'll help, you know. Others will help too. But you're ready now. You are worthy even if you don't know it yet. I'm going to need help too." "Of course. In what?" "Work. With work. It's too much." She looked up at me. "There are 20 goddamn tons of hearts broken every day in the world. Everyone's been hurt." "Well, I guess that's true. So I need you to do what I do. It doesn't have to be a lot. Just once in a while. Just enough to make a difference. For one person at a time, when it matters. To pay it back, you know? Or pay it forward." "Sure. How could I disagree?" "Yeah, okay, I'm in. What do I need to do?" "Just listen. Just be there for me. Just help people. Just like you reached me. Stay present to matter, even if they think they don't. Everyone needs to feel heard. Everyone needs to feel valued. Everyone needs to feel valued. You can do it, Dave. Just reach out to them. Feel them. Everyone is different, so you're going to have to do it differently every time. Maybe you'll get intimate with some of them. Or maybe, go fishing with them and not say a word. Whatever it takes. Whatever they need. Just be willing to make human connections when you see a frayed heart. And keep your promises." I can do that." "Good. You'll find it helps. Sometimes what helps you the most is helping others." She shuddered again. "You said so yourself the first night I spent with you. Why do you think I do it? It's literally the only reason I'm still alive." Next chapter. "So this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm going to do in retirement. When Cookie and I get to see each other, it's become common for us to compare notes. After we've mated like crazy weasels. Hey, we're middle-aged, not dead. It's only been a few years and I already have number 4. Maybe this one will be my first Padawan. You never know. It's a strange life. Certainly not the one I thought it would be before Steph went crazy. But it's nice. It's comforting. It makes you feel worthy. And that's good enough for me." The end. If you haven't watched the first part of this video, the link will be in the description. Thanks for watching, I hope you enjoyed it, so subscribe to my channel and watch the next video.